Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Playtech TV. My name is Kevin, and today we're checking out the Asus Strix Tactic Pro mechanical gaming keyboard. So let's get started. Let's start first then with the design. If you haven't already noticed, this thing is pretty long. It's quite a huge keyboard. It's pretty thick too. I don't have a problem with this at all. You know, big keyboards, it's not really a bad thing at all. And as far as build quality goes, it's incredibly solid. So I think it's quite good. It's just nice, big, and really solidly built, which is what most people would want rather than something that was a bit small, a bit too fragile. So the design is pretty uninspired. I mean, they got these orange accents over here, but overall it's pretty plain, pretty neutral. A bit more subtle, I suppose. It's a bit angular in places, which I guess livens it up a little bit too, but overall the design, I thought it was just a little bit on the dull side. Now, it was very comfortable. I used this for lots of hours of gaming and typing and all that, and it's very good. There's no wrist rest, which might be a bit disappointing to some people, but aside from that, no, it just felt really good. The layout was really good. The keycaps felt good, and design-wise, I thought it was fairly ergonomic, and it should be good for the majority of users out there. Now, it also features a braided cable, which is always nice to see, and a gold-plated USB connector. Now, moving on to the keys themselves, the mechanical key switches, and I'm very happy to say that it features Cherry MX key switches. They're just the best. You know, nothing really compares. I mean, the G910's key switches, Logitech's, were pretty close, but it still just wasn't all the way there, you know? It was like 90% as good. Cherry MXs are the best, and this features them, which is great. And it also comes in all the popular ones. So this one is the Cherry MX Blues, but it also comes in browns, reds, and blacks. So everyone's covered. But yeah, I thought it was really good, and the Cherry MXs are solid as always. It feels very standard in terms of layout, so nothing out of the ordinary here. As I said before, the keycaps felt just fine. It has absolutely great anti-ghosting, which is a nice feature, because I mean, sometimes ghosting, it just shouldn't be an issue anymore, but with some of these mechanical keyboards it still is, but I'm happy to say there was no ghosting here. It has a good use of media keys. They're up the top here, they're quite small and tucked away. I like the addition of media keys. I always forget to use them personally, but for some people they really require them. They are used to using them, and they won't upgrade to another keyboard unless it features them. So I'm happy to say they're here, they're nice and small, but yeah, tucked away, good addition. Now to the macro keys, and this thing has a ton of them. So it has 21 macro keys. One's coming up here, 2 rows, then across the F keys, and then 3 more down here below the space bar. Just so many. This is going to be good for people that really like using macro keys, MMO players and MOBA players especially, or some of them. So yeah, it's going to cover all your macro needs, that's for sure, and down on this Alt key it has the macro recording button. But it seems like they put so much focus on the macro keys that it makes the keyboard so huge, and if you're not someone who uses macro keys, it just may be a bit of a waste, because there's so much dedicated to the macros that you're not even going to touch. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like they were a bit too focused on the macro keys, to me at least. But now let's talk about the lighting, and yeah, it's pretty limited. So the only thing you can really adjust is the brightness, and that's about it. Maybe I'm a bit more spoiled because I've been testing a lot of RGB keyboards lately, but yeah, lighting wise it's pretty basic, but not all people want an RGB keyboard, so to cut down on lighting costs and stuff like that, it's good for those people that just don't care about it. So yeah, the lighting, it still looks nice, but yeah, it's pretty limited. Now the indicator LEDs up the top here, it's kind of strange. They're very close behind the function keys. So sometimes you can't see them, maybe if you have your keyboard up quite high or you slouch down quite a bit in your chair, depending on how you have this set up. Yeah, you might not be able to see them, which is the thing. So that was one thing I ran into. Sometimes I couldn't see them, and it might be an issue for some people. Now, as far as features go, the software is very basic. That's the way I'd put it. If you're not going to use the macro keys, then I probably wouldn't even install the software, because that's all it really seems good for, is setting up your macros. there's nothing else really to use it for or that it's good for. So yeah, if you're not using the macros, then don't get the software, but then if you're not using the macros, then this keyboard's kind of hard to recommend for you, I would say. But if you are using the macros, then yeah, the software's great, pretty straightforward, and it should do you just fine. And that brings us now to the conclusion. So overall, this is huge. It's pretty dull, I'd say, in some ways, but it's really well built and it feels really solid. It's got a nice solid weight to it, there's no flex, and design-wise it's really solid, and it's pretty comfortable as well. There's a great choice of keys, you know, being Cherry MX and being able to choose from 4 different switches, so I really like that. And there's a heap of macro keys, so people that really like using macro keys, this is going to be the perfect keyboard for you. Now the lighting is pretty limited, but as I said before, it still looks quite nice, and you know, some people don't care about it, so if you're not one that cares for, say, RGB lighting or fancy lighting in general, then you know, this should be fine for you. And overall, yeah, I gotta recommend it for the MMO players and the MOBA players that like using macro buttons, because that's what it seems really good for, and people obviously want the best mechanical switches in there, which are the Cherry MXs. It'll do you guys really, really good. However, if you're in the market for a mechanical keyboard with Cherry MX switches, but you don't use macros at all, and say maybe you want nicer lighting, then I'd say look at the Ducky Shine 4s. That will be a really good alternative. They're really well built, and they feature really nice lighting on them as well. And of course the Cherry MX switches, just like this one. So they're still a very solid keyboard. They just don't have the macros on them like the Tactic Pro. Now I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to Playtech TV if you haven't already, and like this video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.